Rishi Sunak has now got 60 recalcitrant Tory MPs who are not supporting him. They are going to make his life very difficult. And at every stage, if Rwanda stutters or fails or doesn't work, they will be out there and they will not be demanding blood. Now, they're not going to defenestrate him, it doesn't look like. They're not going to remove him, but they are going to be saying, I told you so, in kind of primary colours.
The big political business in the House of Commons today, Rishi Sunak trying to get his Rwanda bill through. There'll be more votes on amendments, which are unlikely to pass. So what happens then? The Times' political editor, Stephen Swinford, joins us live from Westminster. Steve, what's the mood of the Tory party in general this morning?
You'll be surprised to hear the Tory psychodrama is back in full swing. I think we were on part 5001 of this by now. But the right-wing Tory MPs are furious. They think that this legislation is not strong enough. It's not going to do the job. Those in the centre of the party think that they're lunatics, that they're kind of disrupting things, and there'll be more division again, and it will only harm the party's chances at the election. So the long and the short of it is, it's what has actually been business as usual for quite a long time for the Conservative Party. They are at one another's throats again.
So, assuming that what happened yesterday is repeated today, that the rebel MPs vote for amendments that then don't pass, the bill gets to its final stage, the third reading, unamended. It's still the bill that Rishi Sunak has written. What happens then? Are there enough angry Tory MPs, and are they angry enough to vote against the bill, or will they back down? Who's going to blink?
We don't think that there are enough MPs to vote against the bill. On our current count, there are about 6 who have publicly said that they will vote against the bill, and there are another 6 that have said that they're prepared to do so but haven't quite gone over the parapet just yet. So you'd need, we think, in the region of 30, around 32, to defeat the government on our kind of latest maths that we've looked at on it, and they just don't have that. There will be a lot of abstentions, but we think that the legislation will get over the line. And Michael Tomlinson, the Solicitor General, has this morning been going around saying that he is confident it will get through and that it will pass. So they think that the overall legislation will survive and that they will move on to the next steps from there.
And then I suppose there's 2 jobs then. One is try to get the legislation through the House of Lords, which might be tricky given the Tories don't have a majority there. There's also the job of putting the Tory party back together after another very public row over one of the Prime Minister's flagship policies.
I think that's right, Matt. And there are 2 things that are going on here. The question we've got to ask ourselves, does any of this matter? Because the government is likely to win, it's likely to succeed. On one level, it doesn't because of that. But actually, it does matter because Rishi Sunak has now got 60 recalcitrant Tory MPs who are not supporting him. They are going to make his life very difficult. And at every stage, if Rwanda stutters or fails or doesn't work, they will be out there and they will not be demanding blood. Now, they're not going to defenestrate him, it doesn't look like. They're not going to remove him, but they are going to be saying, I told you so, in kind of primary colours. So that's one thing that's an issue. The other thing is, this actually, in a way, isn't actually about Rishi Sunak. When I talk to some of the rebels, they are already privately conceding election defeat. They think they're going to lose. And they say this is a battle about what comes next. It's make sure that when we get to this massive election defeat, as they see it, that they are in the right and that their points that they registered were made, and that they said that Rwanda should have been strengthened, and look, it wasn't, and it failed. So it's actually about the future wars of the Conservative Party, all of which is quite depressing for Rishi Sunak in number 10.
And then lob into that inflation going up this morning. At a time when it was the only one of his Rishi Sunak's 5 pledges that he'd met was halving inflation. That's not great either.
It's not great, but it does look more like a blip. People are still confident that inflation is going to fall quite heavily. Remember that last time round, inflation actually fell by more than expected. So it feels like more of a blip, and inflation is going to come down, according to most economists that you speak to. So, and in fact, some people in the Treasury think we may even weirdly enter a deflationary environment later this year. That's another story entirely. So inflation is going to keep coming down. But the question is, will voters give the Tories any credit for that? Because its prices are still going up in shops, albeit not by as much. And the tax cuts that they've already announced, they didn't get any credit for those in the polls at all. So this will be an economy election. As much as people might think it will be a migration election, it will be dominated by economic concerns. And voters aren't giving the Tories the time of day on the economy at the moment.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's a busy old day ahead. Steve, good to speak to you. Stephen Swinford there, the political editor of The Times, joining us live from Westminster.